So I guess we'll get started. So before we start answering questions and everything, I figured I'd just give like a quick introduction for folks that don't know very much about myself or Team LiQuid and kind of what we've been up to. I've been in I started about 5 years ago in League of Legends. Grew up in Washington, D.C. in a little place called Leesburg, Virginia, which is about an hour outside the city, and it's like country town. And played competitive League of Legends and started my own team. And before LCS came out, started competing at different events all around the world. I played in a lot of the IEM Intel Extreme Masters tournaments. It was like the first world championship before they moved to the LCS structure, when they used to have IEMs and stuff running the league events. And so I officially went to Worlds at one point. And after that, and I was working in finance in Washington, D.C., decided to take the team and start running everything underneath Curse. Did that for about 3 years. And then in January of 2015, we stopped the title sponsorship for the naming rights on the company and decided to merge all of the assets that I had created, the contract with League of Legends, all of our sponsorships, all of our contracts with players, with Victor's entity that was Team LiQuid, been around for 15 years, pristine brand, and relevant in a number of games outside of League of Legends. So we started building stuff, and we went from, we were doing about like 1.1 million viewable hours per month on Twitch. We're over 5 million now. We were in, I think, 4 different games. Now we have 10 games that we represent. And we have over 60 players. And we've got an amazing staff and probably one of the most professionally run esports organizations in the Western world. So it's just been really fun to have such an awesome experience in esports, and specifically in League of Legends, which most of you probably know me from. I have is there a way to turn off the little ding every time somebody joins? And
yes,
no, okay. Just every time somebody joins and leaves, it's like ding.
Yeah,
ding,
I know.
Ding,
You're gonna
ding,
get a
ding.
bunch of those during the
It's so hard to focus. Okay.
If you click the little gear icon next to your name and then go to
Yeah.
notifications, you can disable sounds for people entering and leaving.
Okay, it's just under voice, or wait, under
Notifications.
notifications. Oh, got it. Okay, got it. Perfect. Updated. Oh, much better.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. So most of you that know me from League of Legends, I'll just end with this. I ran stuff at Team Curse, Curse Academy, Team LOL Pro, Team LiQuid, Team LiQuid Academy, Team Curse EU, Team Curse Australia. So over my last 4 years, I've probably contracted over 90 League of Legends players, many of them that had played for my organization at one point and now are playing on other teams in LCS and stuff. So some of you may remember that. So, okay, cool. I'll get to the questions and shut up. How do I view the things again?
Pin messages at the top right corner.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. So question number 1, what advice would you give to someone who's been working as a support staff in smaller scenes like OPL, ESL, UK, and want to break into LCS? So esports has been growing considerably, and it's a big market for if you want to start your career. There's a lot of different areas. You can work in operations, you can work in marketing, you can work in tournament administration, you can work on league ops, you can work for teams, sports psychologists, analysts, you can work for developers, you can each of the developers have started their own esports initiatives and programs. There's community management, there's for all of these new companies, there's HR divisions and finance divisions. So you have a burgeoning industry that needs really good talent. For example, I was just earlier today working on a full list of TL positions that we're going to be posting soon. With any industry, it's always about finding the best people, and that's what makes things grow. And so there's a lot of different ways to get involved. I mean, one, it's, I think, the most powerful way to get a position at another company is through referral. But hands down, without a doubt, is getting in touch with people that have influence, making a really great impression, and having somebody reference you into other positions that you want to get into. Because a reference goes a very long way, depending on who's referring you. So it's building relationships throughout the space and getting in touch with people that have a lot of influence. With that being said, if that's difficult, then you want to start doing really great work for organizations that are well connected. Taking an intern position with an organization that you can provide value, and set your goals for what you want to do within that company and where you want to be going, and do really great work. Spend a year working for, let's say, ESL, and do a great job, and make sure you ask for what you want out of your career. Don't be afraid to go for where you see yourself, as long as your capabilities and the quality of your work supports the direction that you're going. So with all that being said, also make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. You've got a really impressive list. The first sentence of each of the areas on your LinkedIn looks really good. Make sure that when you type your name into Google, whatever comes up is supportive of what you want to be doing in the industry. Are there articles? Are there news outlets that have written about you? Is your work visible in the space? I mean, it kind of depends on what industry you work in, but you want it to be clear that you're involved and you've produced things, and your accolades are kind of easily referenceable online. So think about your social footprint, and what you look like when employers are looking to hire. And I guess lastly, just know where you're headed. Know what you want to do, what you want to focus at, what your skills and expertise are. Know what kind of person you are. You left or right brained, or you enjoy code or marketing campaigns. What do you find yourself doing a lot? What do you like reading? What do you like watching? It'll probably be indicative of what kind of career that you want to have. Next question. Hey, Steve, I've been a huge fan since the old Curse days and love what you've done to bring up such good teams. Since you guys didn't manage to make it to Worlds, do you think that there will be a reason to do a roster overhaul at all? We will 100% be doing a roster overhaul for the League of Legends team. Extremely disappointing results for the end of this season. Actually, it's the worst results that we've ever had ever since I started everything in League. So I'm really disappointed. And I think that there's a number of reasons for that. But the outcome of it is that we've got to take a look at the players that are going to be committed to the roster. We've got a really exciting announcement that is going to be going live in probably a couple of weeks. That's going to kind of enable us to be well positioned to provide really attractive contracts to the players that we feel would be a great fit for the TL organization. And that's going to be mixed with the players that we feel have been working with the org that give us the best shot to have a really great roster in 2017. So it's going to be a marriage of some existing players and also some new players. On November 20th, the open agency date will be open, and a lot of players' contracts will end. And at that point, we'll be able to sign some folks that we have our eyes on. Next question, Steve. I'm wondering what I'm wondering is how would a young student pre-college would start to get involved in the esports scene for potential future job in the industry. Oh, Tom Armstrong. Hey, what's up, buddy? Tyler. Tom Armstrong is one of the attorneys that we have a very great relationship with. So Tyler, it's nice to meet you. Hopefully you got some of the TL gear that we sent over. You know, if you're in college right now and you want to work in the esports industry, you can get involved. Like, you don't have to wait until after you graduate college to do something. Find an organization that you want to work with. Maybe and find out what part of the industry you want to work in. Do you want to work on the third-party tournament organizers? Do you want to work with teams? Do you want to work for developers? Do you want to work for a technology company, a streaming organization? Do you want to work on the production side? Do you, figure that out first. And then from that, start listing out the companies that are most prominent in each of those categories. So, teams, okay, I want to work for Team LiQuiD or TSM or whomever. On the production side, I want to work for, One Up Studios or ESL, or on the developer side, I want to work for Blizzard or Riot. And that will start to narrow where you want to get some sort of internship for. And then from that, figure out within that company, where does your skill set apply, and start reaching out. And make sure when you reach out for the first time to one of these companies, it's got to be spot on. Like, spend hours, days, maybe a week preparing for what your message is going to be. Because most of the time you get like one shot. I mean, I would probably say close to 20 resumes a week that just get sent in. And 19 of them, mostly 20 of them, each time we get them, they're poorly written. You should see some of this stuff. It's like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can I get on a call with you? Okay, that's not how you send an email. It's not how you introduce yourself. So you got to be really thoughtful. Put yourself in the shoes of whomever you're sending the message to. What would they want to read and see? And just be really thoughtful with what you say. Don't oversell. Be direct. Hit exactly what the position is and what you are willing to do. Be forthcoming about any salary requirements and what time you have and where you're located and what you can do for the company and what you're willing to commit and what skills you have, and be as concise and direct as possible, so that when that message gets into the inbox of somebody that has the decision power to hire you, that they may hit the reply button and say, hey, let's set up a call for Friday. So yeah, just really craft a great message that gives an overview, spend some good time on it, and then start finding contacts and sending it out. As the president of esports at LSU, I was wondering what you think of the college scene. I've recently taken a position in the club, and I'm wondering how in touch big orgs such as TL are with the college scene, how interested you are in getting involved in the college scene via sponsorship or exposure. Personally, I always just followed the LCS, but after taking a more serious role in the club, I'm expanding into ULOL. It's been really fun, and so far the club has made a lot of positive impact on players involved. The college scene is awesome. I think we've done a lot of work with UNLV when we used to live in Vegas. We've done some stuff with UCLA being based here in LA. We did a meet and greet at NYU at Washington Square in New York. We had 4,000 people show up. It was pretty insane. We got shut down by the police. It was kind of crazy because there were so many people there. So I think in terms of what TL would like to do with universities and college clubs is be more involved. We would love to collaborate on like activations where our players can provide value to the club. Maybe we do a relationship where our players do a private AMA or coaching session with some of the club members, or maybe we send over some swag for a an LCS watching session for playoffs. If you're local, maybe we do an in-person visit. What things do the clubs need? Is it, we need help paying the internet bill, or is it, hey, we want FaceTime with Piglet and we want to ask them some questions or whatever. Have those needs, list them out, and you send them to us, and we'll take a look at it and see if we can put together some sort of partnership with your club or university, so that we can be more involved. We'd love to, barring how much time we have, to be involved in the college scene and the club level. Next one, does the Team Liquid organization plan on getting any other Smash 4 players? Was it really sad to lose a Nairio? And I was just wondering if Smash 4 is still on the radar. I love Smash 4. I was actually at EVO, not this past one, but the one before, when I met him in person and we were able to hang out, and then we entered into a sponsorship for him. I was really sad to see him go. I think it's one of the only times where we've had a player kind of like not retire from the organization like that and just go to another team that's not a team game. So, I was definitely a little sad by that happening. I still love the Smash 4 scene, and we would love to sign a new player. So if you guys, if anybody on this is, knows folks, feel free to message me or tell them to email me, support at teamliquid.net. But we'll also be kind of looking and seeing what the performance is like in the scene and see what kind of players we can sign. Next question, what advice would you give to someone who has entered the esports scene by starting their own team and org? Starting your own team and org is a big venture, and it's very hard to do. My advice would be decide what your goals are for the team that you want to create. Do you want to just be a team in a small game or specific game, and that's it? Is that something that you would enjoy doing and just that, or do you want to be, as large as Team Liquid one day? If my advice would be figure out what game you want to get into first and be really authentic in that space. So, for example, I'm a big Civ player. So like if you wanted to create teams around Civ 6 whenever it comes out and be really involved in the community and set up websites and communities and forums and sign players and provide value to the scene, that's a good way to be really authentic and know the players and be able to sign them. And then once you have that authenticity, you can sign the players, and then you'll need to start selling sponsorships. You'll need to start reaching out to companies that want to advertise their products and services through you, and you'll need to be able to get contracts done with them to help fund your organization. I think the barrier to entry to get into owning an esports team has gone dramatically up since 3-4 years ago. The average investment for a new owner that wants to be like the next TL, you're going to have to find, if you don't have the money yourself, you're going to need to find millions of dollars from somewhere, from someone that believes in you to invest that money so you can go and build your own organization. So financial resources, if you want to go big, is going to be an absolute must. You're going to need to figure out how to find that money. Next question. What was the best moment you've had with TL in the last year? Best moment in the past year. Oh, hands down, I think the best moment was a after party that we did in Vegas after we played the fourth place match against Immortals at playoffs after the first split. Well, first, it was kind of going into it. It was like we played CLG, we were one game away to going to the finals, and then We fucking lost that game, and then we went to the third, fourth place match, and then we got stomped by Immortals, and we ended up placing fourth. And then, but after that, even though we had kind of a bad run in the first split, we finished great given the circumstances and 3 new rookies. But we did an after party at this Vegas hotel called the Downtown Grand, and it was like, I don't know if anybody has the link to the Downtown Grand Team LiQuiD party and post it in the chat, but it was so much fun. Like, it's huge rooftop. It was a pool. There was a DJ. There was tons of TL swag. We did signings. We had 2,700 people come. There's the video, and it was sick. I just had a great time. I got to hang out with everybody, and we were in good spirits, and the team was just like laughing and having a really good time. It was like all of the stress from the whole first split, and then we got to party and hang out. So this is just a lot of fun. Next question. Over the years, from all the teams, who would you rate as someone you'd love to see play again? Elements, Voyboy, NY Jackie Saint. I would love to see Jackie play again. I mean, I love Jackie. He's funny, and he's quirky and weird, and he's infectious and cuddly. He's just like this. He's just this really awesome person. I just smile thinking about him because he's so cool. So miss Jackie. He's in New York right now. I think he's become a real estate agent, so he's not playing professionally anymore. But it would be really fun to have him play again. Probably won't happen, but that would be a lot of fun. And are there sales and merchandise organized by Jinx, yourself, or other TL management? If you, when can we expect a possible coupon code to get some TL swag? I actually don't know the answer to this question. I know we have come out with a ton of new products. We have TL hat, we have a TL tank top, we have new shirts, we are getting our jacket updated. I think that's going live in a little bit. We have new wristbands. I love all the gear. We did this whole photo shoot at the Santa Monica Pier with all the guys, and it was super fun. And then I just don't know if we plan on running any discount codes. If we do one, maybe we should do one at the start of next season. I'll have to ping the guy that runs our merch and talk to him about that. So just stay tuned to social media, I guess, is the best thing I can say. Is getting teaching streams similar to Matt's on the scope for things in other games? When we sign a new player and we put streaming requirements in their contract, we don't also force them or even request, I guess, to have them stream certain types of content. We really allow the player to dictate the type of stream that they have. So Matt is just, his thing is to be educational on a stream. You watch his stream and you become a better support player. That's just the way it is. It's different than watching like Cutie Pie's stream, where you're not going to learn very much, but it's funny as all hell, right? So yeah, it's hopefully we pick up players that just love streaming and love producing content. But I love that Matt does a cool educational stream, just like Voyboy used to do, or still does, but under the org. What is the thought process of picking up JDM, and how did I get so handsome? Born that way, I guess. It's funny. I think somebody asked me the other day. They said, "Who's more handsome, you, Hotshot, or Reggie?" And I said, "Is that even a question?" But anyway, so what was the thought process of picking up JDM? I would say I've always been super honest in these things. I don't really bullshit around. Kusta was not playing well. He had to go, and he was holding back the rest of the team, and we needed to look at other offers that were out there, and JDM was like the best opper. And here I have 4 other guys that are on the team and want to put together the best team in the world. We had done really well at the last major and placed second in the world. So it was like coming off of this really good high. And like, okay, who should we get? We should go after JDM. Okay, let me call Hotshot. Let me see if I can get this thing done. This is going to be tough, guys. And just managed to make that work. And with George, and we were able to sign Josh, and Josh is great. What streaming services do you use? Right now, we use Twitch. Twitch has been, I think, an amazing partner. They have built this online community and streaming. It's the core of what has made esports successful in combination with Riot and the game and everything. So at least in North America. So in Europe. We're very happy with Twitch, and that's what we use. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? Probably 1 horse-sized duck, I guess. That seems easier to slay than 100 little ones. I don't know. I've never heard that question. All right. What are your thoughts on, posted this earlier, I think it added, what are your thoughts on the recent Loco Dardoch chat leaks and leaks in general for esports? Let's see. Leaks in general are really messed up. You've got hackers out there with nothing better to do than go and ruin someone's privacy and mess with something that is a confidential conversation or confidential data for their own self-pleasure. It's just really messed up. So, people like that, it sucks that they're out there and they're doing that. There's ways to protect against it. Most things have 2-factor authentication. You're going to have it on your Gmail. You're going to have it on, you get text messages every time someone logs in with a different IP on stuff. If you don't have that set up, you should. All of our players do. But of course, Skype is like the only program that doesn't have 2-factor authentication, and most of the community uses it. So it's a problem. I guess you just don't say things that are confidential on Skype is the best way, because it could potentially be hacked. I think the stuff with Dardoch and Loco, I think they had a very tumultuous second half of the season. And there was a lot of personality clashes. I think they both kind of contributed to things in their own way, and the general outcome was that it was not healthy, and that was pretty disappointing because it had an effect on the overall performance of the team and how well we would end up doing. So unfortunately, we were never able to kind of get through some of those personality issues and team dynamic issues to move forward. I think one of the reasons why we did not finish the season really well. Do you have any plans on expanding the TL brand in any other games? Yes, we do. Right now, we're in 10 games. Actually, I think we're in 11 games. Depends if you count Clash Royale.
We totally do.
Yeah, we totally do. So it's like, is it an esport? Is it not an esport? I mean, I love John of Hyphonics. If you guys have ever watched Hyphonics' stream, he's just so fun. He's hands down one of the best streams I've ever watched. He plays this game called Clash Royale. It's really fun. But which I also play, by the way, which we have a clan called Team LiQuiD if you want to join it. But yeah. So other games, we've thought about getting into Rocket League. We've thought about getting into Vainglory. We've thought about getting into those are I think been the 2 more recent ones. And we always kind of think about, like, Is it authentic to get into that game? You know, that's really one of the reasons we are sometimes apprehensive to get involved in a new game. If we're not going to create real value and additive value to the community by getting involved, then we're kind of seen as just like some sponsor that comes in inauthentically, and I don't like that. So we just had a hard time getting our arms around like how we authentically get into some of those games in the right way. And where there's a match, then we want to do it. I'm trying to convince Victor to allow me to put together a competitive Civ 6 team. I don't know how far I'll get with him, but so we'll see. So what do you think of the recent Riot post about? I think that the recent post that came out today from Riot Games was incredibly important. And the reason why I think that it's important is because Riot has started to show that it's not just about creating a really great league and great game to watch and an awesome community, but the financial ecosystem by which the esports community is dependent upon is also as important to set up properly for the success of the league and the game from a competitive standpoint. So what was the proper model previously to what the model should be, there's a version change on that. And part of that version change requires that teams and players are more financially incentivized to invest into the league. So what that means is that if the league is good, and when I say league, I mean LCS, if the league is really performing well, putting on a great show with high numbers and everybody's watching it, they're loving the game, that success should also be shared with teams and players. Teams, taking the risk, signing players, paying salaries, housing, cook, chef, coach, analyst, infrastructure, player optimization, taking care of all the stuff that players don't want to deal with. And then players, obviously, why they get paid, because they're, the small percentage that are playing the game at the highest level in the world. And that model has done really well in other games, and it's not as replicated clearly in LCS, I think, in the right way. So I think it's a really good shift. I'm very glad that Riot has, in their announcement, committed publicly to creating that in 2018. There's a definitive date on it, and I think that is a win for the future of esports and the health of the team ecosystem for teams and players. What exactly does an analyst do? There's different types of analysts. An analyst will, for us, let's say on the League of Legends team, they will scrub through a bunch of VOD data, film from all the scrims. They'll upload it to a database. They'll meta tag the data. They will label and organize all of the scrim information. They'll keep documents associated with API data that's coming from the League of Legends server, and they'll be organizing all of that information so that we can run reports based on tendencies, things that the players are maybe doing, patterns, wards per minute, damage, and we'll be able to then make conclusions based on that data to present to the players. And that's the really hard thing. Like, really good analysts are able to look at data and create meaningful conclusions from it. And that's what an analyst does. It's like looking at all of this information and saying, wow, like this actually means that Phoenix isn't warding enough in the mid game in comparison to other players. And when he does ward, he goes for these kinds of wards, which aren't, and then that data is then presented to the player or the coach. And then the player is able to make actionable changes to the way that they practice or the way they play the game And so analysts are just really important in order to accomplish all of that stuff. So yeah. Will the TL family come anywhere near Chicago, Midwest? Will any attend Worlds? I will be at Worlds. So if you are there, tweet at me or something. Also, David, who is our assistant coach and NACS coach, is going to be with me as well. And so we'll be traveling at the event. As far as the players, we have no requirements. We've offered tickets and they're happy to attend if they want to attend, but I actually don't know their schedule. The GM for the team, Nick, would know if they're going to be coming or not. So just stay tuned to their social media, see if they're going to be traveling for Worlds. Okay, I need to take a sip of water. Okay. Oh, which Worlds? Oh, I haven't even been reading this chat. Okay.
You don't need to. It's pretty funny.
Oh, it is? Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to be going to, I think, all of them. So you'll have every opportunity to see me if you want to see me. Most people won't, but that's okay. But the players, more importantly, I'll figure out if they are. I'll have them post. I'm sure they will. From Lotus, do you think that last split the org spread too many resources between the CS and the LCS teams? Yes, is the answer to that question. I have a lot to say about this, actually. So we ran an LCS and an NACS team last split. If you may remember, we were the first team to come out with a 10-man roster, and for the first half of the season, we had a big roster we could move in between. We had a bunch of space here in West LA. We hired a coach for the NACS team. We had Loco with the LCS team. We analysts. We had basically separate everything. It was like running two teams. And in theory, it was great. Like the teams would scrim against each other. They would be able to learn more from scrims, and they would be better teams each respectively by the collaboration that would take place. Great idea, Steve, right? That's just not how it ended up working. So what ended up happening was the teams were competing with each other. Like they didn't want to help each other because as it got closer to the end of the season, why should I help a team that when I have to focus on everything that I needed to focus on? And then you got into issues with, well, if you have a 10-man roster, that kind of insinuates that the best 5 players will play for the main team and the lower tier players will play for the other team. Well, that's not really how it works. You know, the fucking Randy stuff. The teams were basically competing, and we weren't able to move the players that didn't perform as well to the B team, and so you weren't able to get the optimization that you wanted. And then Riot has a rule that you can't move in between the teams after a certain date. So you put all this work into your NACS team and squad. You sign contracts, you play salaries, you optimize their play, you have a coach, you do all this stuff, and then you lose, and you can't even use those players for the main team. Like you can't even interchange it after you've done a huge investment into the scene. And me, more so than any other owner, has invested into the challenger scene. Team LoL Pro, Curse Academy, Team LiQuiD Academy. I have, from the beginning, before you could even sell an LCS spot, I have supported the challenger scene. And it's broken. The system with NACS and LCS and inability to move players and the sale of challenger teams and being able to just put like retired players and qualify into LCS and not even cultivate new talent is just all bullshit. So the system is broken. So based on if the system doesn't change, then we are not likely to field an NACS team. We'll just have an LCS team with subs. What is your opinion on franchising in the LCS and the relegation system? So franchising, what that really means is more permanent positions within the league. I think that's really good for the ecosystem. I think that teams and players kind of deserve permanent, or teams deserve permanent positions within the league, so that they feel comfortable investing more into the league. Like, I would love to build a TL training facility that houses gamers and optimizes performance, and we have all kinds of doctors and sports psychologists and analysts, and everybody's there, and it's like a sports combine you would see in other professional sports. But why make that massive investment if you could be relegated in 6 months? It doesn't make any sense. So you're basically capping the upside of what could happen if teams were to put massive investments into building their brands and the infrastructure, because of the fear that that investment could then fall by the wayside in 6 months. So you're basically stifling the growth associated with what could become of the league by not providing permanent positions. So I think that franchising is incredibly important to the league. Okay, next one. What happened with Joka's position within the league team? Joka actually used to play Counter-Strike before he was hired by me. I think it's been 3 years. It's kind of crazy. And he played Counter-Strike professionally. He was actually on the for like when you buy a keyboard, like he has that little picture with his quote when you go to Best Buy to pick up a Razer keyboard. So in his heart of hearts, like, Counter-Strike was where he grew up, so to speak, in the community, in the gaming community. And so when we made such a big investment into monetary investment and time investment into the Counter-Strike squad, we decided that Joka was like a perfect fit for that. Like, he loved Counter-Strike. He used to play. He understands the game. He knows the culture. He understands the players. He was really great friends with the Dren. They grew up together. Like, it just made way too much sense to not have Joka working with the Counter-Strike team. So that's what he ended up to go do. Okay. How can I, as a viewer, this is from Sync, help the TL org? As a viewer, one of the things that you can do is just help spread the experiences from being a TL fan, I guess. That's helping share the things that we do, like this AMA, for our community with other people, helping create awareness for the TL brand, and then just, being a fan is being a fan. Like, we wouldn't exist if we didn't have likes on our Facebook page and followers on our Twitter and people that showed up for AMAs with the co-CEO. We just wouldn't exist. So, I guess what you can do as a TL fan to help out is be a fan as a consumer and support us. And I mean, I remember there's a few times, like, I remember one time one of our players, I won't say his name, but he received a Facebook message from one of his fans, and it was like so well written. I mean, it was just deep and poignant and clear, and like the player just kind of broke down because he just got this message from his fan, and it just kind of touched him in a way where he was really motivated at a really difficult time. So just supporting us and loving our teams and players and the brand wouldn't be anything without the fans. Will you be at ESL New York? I might be. I really want to go and watch our CSGO team play, but I have meetings that I need to be at TwitchCon. Really sucks that TwitchCon and ESL New York are going to be at the same time. I might actually fly out to the New York event on Friday and then fly all the way back for TwitchCon. So we'll see. I might be. Figured my travel out yet. All right. Next question from Benson. Is TLA happen to be or will be looking at an online analyst? Yes. We actually have a group. We have a job a career posting for an online analyst and also in-person analyst. Those job descriptions are about to go out live on our site, hopefully next week. We need some really good analysts to join our team of existing analysts. It's such a critical position within the company, because when you're an analyst, you're shifting through a ton of data in order to come to the proper realizations and conclusions for players. And really great analysts can look at data and come up with good conclusions. So yes, stay tuned. They will be posted on teamliquidpro.net or com, sorry. Jeez. Would you consider, this is from Sky Shepherd, would you ever consider re-signing Simple if given the opportunity? I love Simple. Simple's great. You know, most people don't know this, but Simple actually used to live in the room right next to me in the same unit here in LA. And we spent a lot of time together. We'd hang out and helped, you know, him through his like experience in being in the US. And, you know, I think he's a great-hearted person. And I think he's highly skilled. I think he's one of the best players in the world. Or I think he will be one of the best players in the world if things go well. So if we ever had the chance at some point in the future to work with Simple again, like absolutely, you know, would love to work with him again. But I think that's not likely at all. It won't happen because Simple, you know, he's playing with a fellow group of Ukrainians, and he loves his team, and it just fits exactly for what he wants to do. And you know, Victor and I helped facilitate that so that he could play on that team, and kind of helped make that happen for him. So I'm really happy for him, and glad that he's like in a spot he loves.
Is this AMA to 7 or to 6?
It was scheduled till 7.
Okay, well then we're gonna need 1,000 more questions. In fact, just Google best questions to ask a co-owner and send them our way. Thank you.
More questions. Okay, this is from Sync. And at any point, will the TL players and games soonish at all? I miss doing those ARAMs with you. Oh my gosh, I miss doing that too. You know what? I promise you, we will do that next season.
We have a lot of plans. All right.
Yeah, we need to do more to be connected with the community. We've kind of, on a league side, we became a little too silent. You know, we didn't want to get, became too focused on winning, and winning was the only thing that mattered. And, you know, practice was like not a good use of time. And that was like the mentality. And it just, I think it was damaging to the growth of the team. So we will do more things like that. I still play League, and yeah, I would love to do like the community ARAMs and stuff. It'd be a lot of fun. How does one learn to be an analyst coach? Or for law, I would like to get better at the game and learn macro before I start. The best thing to become an analyst or coach is to consume content, to learn, to read, watch. And you should be looking at YouTube videos. You should be following Weldon and all of the other coaches and analysts, and you should be looking at Jat and all of the content that he pushes out. You should be reading articles and then reading books on if you're coaching. There's two sides of coaching. There's the left. There's the analytical side and kind of the strategy side, but there's also the psychological side and the mindset and team dynamic side of coaching. And you read about that stuff. I most recently read a book from Bill Belichick, and great book, amazing. So you just got to consume content and learn as much as you possibly can, and then you'll be able to speak articulately about the game and recognize that, and they'll want to hire you because of your knowledge in these different areas. Question from Atlas. What direction do you think you will go with filling the upcoming split NACS roster? This is a great question. I think we might be dropping the NACS team and our participation in the NACS. It'll be the first time we ever do it, but I'm just not happy with how the system is designed. So the cost associated with running two separate teams just doesn't make sense to field two teams with that large investment. It's better to just focus on one team with a handful of subs. So that's the current line of thinking. It may change based on if there's changes to the system, but right now we'll likely just field the LCS team and have a handful of live-in subs. Why did you name it TLA instead of Team Solid? Okay. And going to ESL New York, how nervous, especially after the loss in the EL qualifiers? I am nervous, yes. We've been having some issues with the Counter-Strike team. I think one of the things that was a major mistake with that team was going into the recent events was that we started really late. Like the team took a almost 2-month break between the CSGO major and the start of all the matches. And the team didn't actually even start practicing together until a day before their first match. And there are some excuses and reasons and all that stuff for that. But in the end, what ended up happening was the team did not practice well enough for the start of the season and did not have the emotional fortitude to recover from those initial string of losses from the start of the season. So I think we should have started practice way earlier. We should have been in good form by the start of all of the events and qualifiers. And because of that, we're backpedaling and we're trying to, we're behind a few months from some of the other teams that didn't take as much time off. What do you think developing homegrown talent in the NA scouting grounds and imports? I think the NA scouting grounds is really cool. I think it's a great way for players to be visible to team owners that want to pick up players. Right now, being able to scout a League of Legends player is, it's really like, it's like relationship based. It's like, oh, I ran into this guy in solo. He seems really good. Okay, cool. Can you add him in game? And like, well, let me talk to him and we'll see if he wants to play professionally. There's no like real system to like, path to pro, so to speak. That's real. It's not like you can really focus on solo queue and play your heart out and then be recognized and have your accolades and stats visible to team owners. And so the scouting grounds is a way to do that. And I think it's a great idea from Riot. I think it will motivate players that want to become pro and play pro because it will be the first qualifier. Like, can I have great stats in comparison to the other people that are in the scouting grounds? And if you're doing really well there, then you're very likely to be on a team. Okay. Have you done a roster move in any of your League of Legends rosters now that you regret? Have I done a move that I now regret? I would say one of the ones I regret the most I hate to say it, but it's true. I regret the decision on Pobelter and Aframu from back in the day on Curse. There was some stuff with Voy and top lane and mid lane, and I didn't follow my gut on that and made some bad decisions. And I think if we would have continued with Pobelter and Aframu, then I think that would have been a better move. So I regret that. Piglet's not gone, Enchanted. So what do you think of League of Legends moving forward? Will another game take the esports throne from it anytime soon? I think League of Legends is by far the most played game. I don't know if anybody saw that to the concurrent user base that is on League of Legends, but if you compare that, I think it was like 100 active users per month or 101 or something, and then the second game had like 17 million. That's a big difference. So League of Legends is completely dominating the esports scene by a wide margin based on their player base. And I don't know this, League of Legends is not made by a company called Riot Game. It's called Riot Games, and so if they do come out with other games, then we will absolutely, without a doubt, be part of those games, assuming that they're esports. When will the org know release roster for 2017 split from Lotus? We will release probably like the next day when we have a finalized roster and it's approved by Riot. Back in the day, the funny thing is, back in the day, you didn't have to get approval from Riot in order to roster. You would just like sign a player and just like announce. And you can't do that. Like it's all, there's like a system, there's like a structure to it. So you have to, we have to get through the off season, we have to sign players, we have to get them contracted, and then we have to send the paperwork. They have to be approved. That has a whole process, and then we can go live with an announcement. So there's no date that I can give you. I can just say that as soon as we have the approval from Riot on whatever we end up doing, we'll go live. From Sync. Does rank matter for being an analyst? What about time dedication per week? And can I be a platform scrub? I'm also a platform scrub, but have huge game knowledge. I don't think that rank matters to be an analyst. I think I'm gonna take that back. I think it depends on what kind of analyst you are. If you're just going to be, and there's ways to be an analyst, almost like a visual designer, and be able to manipulate data in a way without knowing too much about the game. So there's positions out there for not even knowing much about the game, but being really great analysts, because you can mine through data quickly and serve it up in really great ways. But in terms of like a traditional league analyst, I think you definitely have to have like a general knowledge of the game and understand it. There's a difference between understanding macro and consuming content and being able to manipulate the data versus high mechanics and in-game decision making. So it's not a requirement, but I would say you would definitely want to be able to play League and do well in order to apply to be an analyst. It's definitely it's a bonus if you send in your resume and you're like, I'm Platinum 4, and it's like, oh, okay, good. You play League and you're pretty good, decent. All right. Do you wish players would act more like NASCAR drivers in interviews by stating the by stating most answers by listing major sponsors. Well, the HTC HyperX Quest 2. I think we, just like our fans, we wouldn't be anywhere without our sponsors. They fuel the operations for our company, and that's incredibly important. So we do a lot for our sponsors and our partners, and it's great every time a player mentions a sponsor in a post, or I'm sorry, in an interview. Really is appreciative of how the whole ecosystem works and respects that. I think it's great. From Benson, follow-up question about the online analyst and in-person. Are you maybe looking for a specific and general quality, whatnot? Another question: what advice would you give for someone who's interested in applying for that job? So Benson, the specific qualities and responsibilities will be listed in the job description when we go live. And my advice would be have a really compelling cover letter. I think cover letter is really important for an analyst position, and have examples. It's almost have your real introduction. Like if you're a video editor, you want to be able to have like a video that shows all of the work that you've done. Well, as an analyst, you want to be able to show the type of analytical work that you may have done. So if I were to look at an online analyst position, let's say I got a cover letter and it said, "Dear Steve, I'm applying for this analyst position, and here are some data points. Like I am, this rank, and I've been playing the game for this long, and I have done work in these areas that are relevant to being an analyst. In addition, I have been doing analytical work for X amount of time, and during that time, I have produced these things." And then you've got links to the type of analytical work that you've done, and I can clearly see the depth of the analysis and your ability to present the data. And that is a very strong way of presenting yourself that shows you've done work, you're qualified, you're passionate, you've already been working in the space. It's not just you want to do all these things and you're going to do them once you get the position. It's like you have been doing all these things, and now the team and the players and the org get to benefit from this work being focused to Team LiQuid. Let's see. Favorite role in Champion from Renard. Favorite role is AD carry. Favorite champion is Ashe. But I'm not very good at it. So if you're going to say my best performing role, I would say, actually, I would say too, Fiddle. Fiddlesticks in jungle is definitely a favorite position, and jungle, like I used to play Fiddlesticks all the time. If you Google, if you Google Fiddlesticks and LiQuiD112, you can see some awesome plays from me. You can actually also see some really awesome plays from me by typing LiQuid Caitlyn netting. Just really sick, awesome plays of how good I am at Caitlyn. So, yeah, that's what I play. But my best role is just support. Support is by far my best role, like if I play competitively. Favorite candy is Warheads. What is the one thing that you really regret out of your entire time on Team? I regret. What do I regret? Man, that's a tough question. I regret probably some roster stuff. Can you answer the TLA Team Solid question? I don't know. I mean, Team Liquid Academy is just more perfect name. Team Liquid Academy, it just kind of fits. Can I be the meme director for TL Go? This is actually pretty funny. We were thinking about posting a position for a meme specialist, but like someone that could help curate content for Team Liquid on social media that was relevant to specific games, not just TL Go, but like all of our games, and be able to really quickly post very funny, viral things on social media, being extremely creative. And we don't have that. Like we're looking.
Come on, man. I asked Victor for that, and he laughed at me.
Did he? So we're thinking about doing something like that. So maybe meme director is a real job at some point. Maybe not director, maybe meme specialist. How memey is TL Go in the current state? There's memes all the time about Team Liquid everywhere. It's just the way we are. I mean, I hate to say it, but obviously the biggest fourth place meme, geez, like haunts me. Like I have nightmares about it. So next question from Elephant on Fire. You've had players in the past come in and had short stints within the org where it seems that they wasted some of their time signing with the team. This includes Edward, Pobelter, Zeke, and Smoothie. Do you think the history of replacing players affects your ability to bring free agents? I think we have had players that have had stints, but there's always been like a good reason for that player not working out. I think us more so compared to other organizations is that I have been running so many teams, that you see a lot more rookie players be signed with the organization because we're fielding more players. Like Edward, that just wasn't going to work out. Like there was massive culture differences, and that was probably one of the first times where I realized culture shock and integration into like American way of doing things is a real thing and a real detriment, and something that needs to be considered when bringing an international player. Pobelter, love Pobelter, and I it's one of the things I think I regret is not acting on that decision. There's I think for a lot of the stories of players that have had short stints, there's also evidence of players that have had longer careers under TL, or there was better fits for them under other orgs and they were traded. But I don't think that has an ability or affects our ability to recruit new players. Have you tried playing Melee on the competitive side? I am horrible. I'm like garbage tier Smash player. It's embarrassingly bad. It's just one of the games that I'm not very good at. So it's bad. Wrath Sky. As LSU students, we think it's really awesome that Shaq and the from our university is getting so involved in the scene. As an owner, what is your candid thoughts about big names like with Fox and Shaq entering the space or scene? I think that it is super cool for other personalities, influence, sports icons to get involved in esports. I think it's great. I think it's even better when they are doing it for authentic reasons. They love gaming, they have been a gamer, they have relatives or family members that are in gaming, they are investing their time learning, reading, watching. There's not this tangential kind of investment. It's real. It's not just motivated by money. It's kind of like for the right reasons, right? And I think in some instances, like for Rick Fox, there's authenticity with that. Like Rick understands, he knows his players, he knows the games, he's loved it, he knows, he's not going to be as in tune as most of us are, but he's making a great effort to get involved authentically, and so I think that that's great, and I think we should encourage and support people who do that. I think what sucks is when somebody wants to come in and just make a money play and, don't really understand what they're doing and just trying to hire people. And I think that sucks. What is your opinion on player burnout and career? Let's see. The opinion on burnout. I think burnout is real. I think the LCS schedule is a little too rigorous. I think it's a lot of games. I think it's high demands on players, and the amount of time they have to put in. I think burnout is absolutely a real thing. I've witnessed it. Players get really tired and it's like they can't function. It's hard to focus. It's motivation, it's depression, it's injury. So, we try to do things to curb burnout. We have the guys go to CrossFit. They don't do real CrossFit, but it's like a version of CrossFit. It's just kind of light exercise. I think it's hard to get away from burnout, but we try to curb some of the issues with it. Sync. You said in an interview that you once made 6 figures. Doing what exactly, and how can someone get to that position? Was it hard dealing with Piglet at first when he came? And do you watch anime? I don't watch anime, unfortunately. I know a lot of people do. Piglet, when he first came, yes, Piglet was a handful. But all of it was in some way warranted. He had never traveled outside the country. He had never been away from his friends and family. It was a dramatic shock to his day-to-day, and we had to support him with that. I don't know if any of you guys remember watching the Piglet video from Christmas. I think we did a Christmas for Piglet. I don't know if somebody could link it in the chat, but what a great video. And it kind of tells that story of Piglet had a really tough time kind of acclimating into the US culture. And we did everything that we kind of could to make him feel better. And oh yeah, that's it. Piglet's Christmas surprise. Such a cute video. Okay. And then the last one, I made 6 figures. Yeah. My first year out of college, I ended up making 6 figures. It's kind of weird because you think about going to college, and the whole time I was in college is okay, I need to start my career, and I've invested 4 years of my life at this university, and now I get to go out and do things. And I was so focused on making money and achieving success. And, I wanted to work as hard as possible. And so even though I kind of hated finance when I was in college, I ended up doing a career in finance because I wanted to be successful. I wanted to have nice things. And those were my motivations back then. And so I set off into a career in finance, and I worked at American Express and kind of just built a financial planning practice, and just went super aggressive on building it as quick as possible. I just remember we was working, living, breathing. Every bit of my recreational time was spent working. It was I was just out there networking and selling and building my client base. Yeah, it was a lot, but you could make great money doing a lot of different things. If you put your heart into something, there's probably a way that you can turn that into a business. Just need to think about it the right way. That Team Liquid are the number 4. Would you ever imagine something like LCS lockout ever happening? From Renard, it's a possibility. I mean, if you think about other professional sports and, the financial terms, it could happen. Right now, the health of the financial ecosystem around esports, it needs to be defined a little bit better. So when you think about other professional sports, you think about media rights, you think about advertising revenue, sponsorships, ticket sales, gate revenue, merchandising revenue. In esports, you have in-game item sales. So all of that revenue, what is it total? How much is going into the league? And then from that, how is that shared? And if it's not shared in fair ways, then yeah, you see things like lockout, because the ecosystem should be kind of built in a healthy way for the parties that are contributing to it. Liam, no, the Randy stuff, we would not do that. That's not something that we would do.
Did we run out of questions?
We might have.
Well, take a sip of your drink because you've just been nonstop
talking for a while. I know. Okay. Okay. So, question. Excuse me. Oops, I just accidentally closed everything. Hold on. Question. What are your thoughts and plans about the from Marin 025. When I saw how you acquired Phoenix, I was so amazed at your courage on getting a player which you don't really know and if it'll pay off. Where do you get that kind of courage? And when it comes to roster changes, do you expect instant changes or changes that show up in the next split or so? Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Where do I get that kind of courage? Well, I guess courage is kind of an interesting topic. I guess courage and taking risk, is that the same? I've always been kind of a risk taker. I've always been an entrepreneurial spirited person. I remember back in the day, I would, I was like the kid that was setting up lemonade stands. And I remember there was this one time when MP3s were coming out, and this was like AOL 1.0. I remember it was black and white, and we used to like transfer music in inboxes using bot programs. And I had all these MP3s with all these songs on my computer, and I used to go to school, and I had a printout of all the songs, and I would sell CDs with burn music on them for $20 a piece, because having a CD with like multiple different songs was so crazy. Like, oh my God, you can get a CD with more than one artist on it. So I was like selling CDs out of my backpack, and I actually set up a small company that designed banners for websites. I'm showing my age, but back in the day, there were advertising units on sites, and you could only get one size on the like every site on the internet had one advertising unit. It was this long rectangular banner. I don't remember the dimensions off the top of my head. And so I used to design those and make them for companies. So I don't know. I was always kind of like, I've always been business minded and taking risk, and even the financial markets, I did some stupid things, and just always been kind of open to risk and taking risk and being comfortable with that. It's just part of my DNA, I guess. I forget the second part of that question, but okay. Shadow question. What are your thoughts on the esports bubble and its theoretical bursting point this year? I do not think that esports is a bubble. I think that there is real value from the number of eyeballs and the amount of engagement and the time watched on the content that is being pushed out in esports. If you think about the number of people watching and how they're watching and all of the ads that can be played, that's real value. That's getting, you know, that's realized. Now I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. It's out there. There are people watching it and they're consuming it. But the advertising dollars that are being spent on that are not being realized. So if you think about it, what is a good example? A good example is we did a campaign for Nissan, and it was a campaign called #WithDad. And during the Super Bowl of last year, TSM, Cloud9, and TL did a tweet on social media called #WithDad, and it was posted during the commercial of the Super Bowl. And we all posted it, and we had the third highest engagement out of any other artist that they had hired to do this campaign. And they had like Britney Spears and Snoop Dogg and all these other artists like do the tweets with #WithDad, and we delivered more engagement than all of them. And so does esports provide value? Absolutely, because how much did they pay Snoop Dogg or Britney Spears to put out that tweet? Probably way more than what they compensated us to do that program. So the value is there. Like, we're delivering real value. It's just that it's not realized. Like, marketers and advertisers don't understand the esports space. They're apprehensive to invest. They can't measure the ROI. It's not in the advertising lingo and the jargon that they use to describe things. So they're not willing to put big money behind it. So I think a lot of money is coming in, and I think revenue needs to be unlocked, both on the league level, but also on the sponsorship side. Where do you want TL to expand next? It's a great question. I have a lot of answers for that. There's some of them that I don't want to share, but because I don't want to give things to the competition, but we will expand, and we have plans to expand in a lot of really awesome areas that are very authentic, and I know will help grow the company. But I can't really say where we're going next because I don't want to mess up what those plans are by informing the competition. Do you think that having 112 in your is made the meme a reality? I mean, it's too serendipitous for it to not have, right? So, I mean, it's the fact that I even have 112 so random, and then the fact that we placed fourth so many times in a row. Hey, by the way, we did place third a few times, and we finished first in the regular season twice. So yeah, fuck that meme.
That doesn't count. We ultimately placed fourth.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna field one voice question for you. So, Get ready? All right, awkward sign kid. You got your one question.
Wait, am I up? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Steve, can you look in the chat? Look at these two logos. I want you to see which one you prefer. Also, do you ever get annoyed by questions about Piglet?
Where are the? Oh, here we go. I'm joking. God damn it! And the questions about Piglet, they don't get old. I mean, Piglet's awesome, and he's a big part of the TL brand and part of our community, and he is one of the best players in the world, and I don't mind getting questions about. It's just happens. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Was that you, Tyler? I think that was Tyler. Nice to meet you.
All right, continue with the pin question.
Okay. Question. You said that you're likely do you think Riot should retool the Challenger system to make it more friendly for LCS teams to keep a CS squad? Absolutely. I think that I think we should absolutely change the system that is currently operating for NACS and LCS. I don't know if Riot will or won't, but all I can do as a business owner, making a massive investment financially and also time into something, all I can do is just reference the way that the rules are currently written, and based on those rules, all I can say is it doesn't make sense to run two teams. It just doesn't. It's very difficult, and the upside is not there. So for the performance of the teams, so it's just tough to do in the current climate. But maybe the system changes, and we're able to do something else. What is TL? We just, if you haven't seen yet, we just signed Thermal, who I think had a really great turnout at the last event. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the event that was just played, but had a pretty good turnout there. And Thermal was one of the for StarCraft, and we need to continue to provide like authentic value to the StarCraft community, and I think the best way to do that is to sign additional players that are good fits for the brand. So we'll continue to be on the lookout for players that are great fits for us. Yep. Let's see. From Tiger. Big fan of TL Steve. Great work with the team as always. Thank you very much. How do you feel working with Jack and Reggie? I know you guys are business friends, but at the same time, they are in a way more successful in their org, where we are always one step behind them. Was wondering, how do you feel about catching up to that, and where should we do to catch up to that? So Tiger, I don't know if you're as familiar with some of the other esports ecosystems outside of League of Legends, but I don't think that Jack and Andy are more successful than Team Liquid. In terms of League of Legends, absolutely. But in terms of overall brand in the space, we compete in more games. We have better performances in some of those other games. And we have a larger overall fan base than some of those teams do. Now, if you're just a League of Legends fan, like, you're gonna be like, what? Like, those brands are huge. They're massive, but we represent, I think, other games with also big communities. Like Hungrybox is killing it in Smash, and our Counter-Strike team placed second at the last major, and our Dota team placed first, second at the majors, and fell a little short at the international. And we just signed one of the best Dota teams in the world, and just announced that last week. We had one of the best Heroes of the Storm teams in Europe, probably the world, for a while there. We are in more games and have bigger influence. But in terms of League of Legends specifically, I will say one of the things that has kind of made it difficult, and always being like one step behind in terms of performance, has been, I think it's a little bit to do with the structure that we've had in place, and some issues there, in combination with some just really unfortunate games. Like the fact that we were one game away from going to finals and beating CLG, the fact that we were up 2-0 and lost to LMQ to go to Worlds, like being a TL fan in League of Legends is kind of tough in a lot of ways. Like, we've had some really heartbreaking, brutal losses. I mean, just brutal. And it's hard to say exactly what those are. Yeah. So, some of it's just a matter of circumstance and performance, and you show up one day and you're the winning team. It just happens sometimes. But as far as what League of Legends looks like moving forward, we are going to put together the most competitive roster that we ever have next season, and we are going to provide the best to those players. And I will stop at absolutely nothing to put together the best roster. So better watch the F out. How often do you turn down potential sponsors? What determines promote? Let's see. As far as brands, we get reached out all the time from products and services that are looking to advertise with TL, and we turn down quite a few actually. And the reason why we turn them down is because they don't really fit for our audience. I mean, I'm of the belief that once we represent a product or service, it is endorsing it to all of our fans, and a lot of our fans, because they're a sponsor of the team, may go and purchase their product. I don't know how many people in this chat have maybe been at the store and seen a Quest bar and been like, oh, that's Quest. Quest sponsors TL. I know them. Or, has went to think about what monitor they want to buy and oh, yeah, right. TL just announced with AOC that they're doing a partnership, and AOC is great monitors. Or, oh, I'm going to buy, my favorite player is Piglet, and he uses the, this keyboard and the Def Adder or whatever. So I want that same thing. So I really take it to heart, the products that we use, and we give a lot of consideration before we sign something and what it means to the brand. I love Quest. I love Razer. I love HyperX. Their headsets are amazing. Before we sign anything and it's a product, we try it and send it to the players, and I get feedback and asked what they think about it, because they're also an extension of the brand. So yes, it's a big piece of the decision making. And of course, HTC. Many of you probably remember my little phone ringing on stage. That was pretty funny. Okay. KS Ownage. If the team makes it to Worlds next year, would you give away Worlds tickets to TL fans? Absolutely. Promise you, we will do that. If we make it to Worlds, I promise we will do a giveaway for Worlds tickets. Guaranteed. We will make it. I mean, there's probably no doubt we'll make it to Worlds next year, but yes. What will you have to say about virtual reality and its compatibility with esports? From Renard. I think virtual reality is really awesome. I don't know if anybody has tried VR, but VR, and obviously the best product for VR is the Vive. And I'm not just saying this from a bias standpoint. The Vive is just hands down the best VR product there is. And if you've tried it, the experience is awesome. I thought it was going to be kind of clunky and felt weird, and you had a headset on, but it's real. I remember the first time I put it on, there was this scene where I was standing on the edge of a ship, and I was underwater, and I looked over the edge of the ship, and my heart started racing, and I started sweating because I have a fear of heights, and I was looking over the side of the ship, and I had a physiological reaction to being in the VR experience. So it feels very real. With that being said, I think VR and esports is probably a ways away. The reason I think that is because you have to have a multiplayer experience. It needs to be in a balanced game, and it has to be a game that's widely used by a ton of people. And then there has to be those same people that enjoy watching other people playing VR in order for it to be an esport, because you can't have an esport if it's not a spectator sport, right? can't just be a fun game to play. You have to enjoy watching it as much as you do playing it. And VR, that's difficult, and it's just not there yet. So VR esports, ways away. But I do think that you could watch esports events or watch gaming events from a VR. Now that is cool. So, for example, like if you could, like ESL1 New York. I know that they announced this whole VR thing for ESL1 New York, but I don't know like what is actually happening with it. But this is what I think would be really cool: is that imagine you have your HTC Vive, you put it on, and you're watching the event, but you could actually go into the map, right? And you could be in the map, watching the map happen, and kind of scroll around and like watch the action, or like follow your favorite player from first person view. Like that's, I think, sick. So if maybe that's already happening or will happen soon. Let's see. Rendrick. When you send over the cover letter to the email for position at TL, who gets them, and what is the process and all of that? Right now, you can email all of your you can email all of your applications to support@teamliquid.net, and that goes to a gentleman that runs that, and it gets scrubbed, and then the emails go off to the respective places within the company that they need to go to, and some of them end up in my inbox, in Victor's inbox, and or the department heads, and we just kind of look at that stuff. Okay. What is the biggest change you want to make for the LoL roster this year? The biggest change that I want to make is with regards to infrastructure. We are going to make a lot of additional financial investments into infrastructure. We've also been doing a lot with our technology for data analytics, and we've come a long way, but it's not there yet. So I've challenged myself within the next 3 months to get our software to a point where it's kind of perfect for players and improvement. And that's a big change. So number one, infrastructure, staff, technology, and optimizing in all of those areas. Okay. Liam, what is the day in the life of a co-owner of TL? Let's see, that's a good question. My day is kind of inundated with a ton of meetings. I'm on the phone a lot. I actually still live on site with all of the other gamers for the League of Legends squad. And I spend a lot of, so I basically wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is get on email, and I get on Skype, and I start working on whatever I'm reacting to. A lot of the folks and staff that we have in Europe, and specifically Netherlands, they get up a lot earlier than me. So there's always like a bunch of stuff that is accumulated already. And so I spend a little bit of time doing that. And then I'm usually just in kind of back-to-back meetings all throughout the day. Like today, I met with our PR agency. They came to the offices here, and then I met with some folks on the financial side, and then I had a call with Twitch, and then I had another meeting I can't mention, and then this was kind of back-to-back meetings, and then I'll spend some time with the Counter-Strike team. Last night we were up until midnight, kind of going through various things, and I was talking with the team and hanging out with them, having meetings with staff here on site, and then I'll spend the night usually, I don't know, 9 to 11 p.m. just working emails. By the time it hits 11 o'clock, I jump in, I play a few league games, and then I go to bed. And I just basically do that 7 days a week. And then, of course, travel to events and stuff.
This is a 20-minute warning for everybody, so make sure you want to ask questions that you want Steve to answer. And for those who have been around the whole time, thanks for coming. So,
Yes, thank you.
20 minutes left, boys and
20
gals,
minutes left.
or people, or aliens.
Really. 2 hours is a lot of time to spend with me. Thank you for...
you guys are lucky. This is the most amount of minutes people have spent with him.
So, okay. Benson, your predictions on Worlds. Who gets out of groups? I think TSM will win Worlds. If TSM doesn't win Worlds, then Rox will win Worlds. And that's what I think, and that's what will probably happen. Doof CS. Your icon picture is so funny. Question. Why are you toying with my emotions in the Christmas video for Piglet? Sorry that I'm toying with your emotions. It is a really great video. It leaves you with like a awe kind of feeling. What is the best gaming moment in your opinion that has happened to or for Team LiQuID? I would say the best gaming moment was Madison Square Garden, which is kind of close to I think CSGO Columbus. I think it's one of the two. Actually, no, I'd say Madison Square Gardens, New York. The reason why is because New York is just freaking amazing. Like tons of people in a small square footage. You get tons of fans, lots of engagement. There's so many people. The Madison Square Gardens was so intense. I mean, it was just like packed to the brim. I remember going into the venue and I was just walking inside the venue, and all of a sudden I had like a horde of people just surrounding me in every direction. Like I couldn't even move. And I remember trying to step up on this curb so I could see where I couldn't even see where I was walking. Like I had lost where I was going. And it was just super cool to see so many people just in love with, Team LiQuID and just League of Legends and then the whole thing afterwards, Madison Square, was just awesome. And for anybody that hasn't seen that video, it's called League of Millions, which is on Apple iTunes. So if you go to Apple iTunes and you type in League of Millions, you can watch this documentary on Team LiQuID, and in it has all the moments from Madison Square Gardens. It's such a cool video. It's really one of the best videos that's ever been done on the team. All right, and the fact that we won made it even better. What are your opinions on ESL New York being streamed in virtual reality? I think I talked about this earlier. I think I'm kind of trying to understand what exactly it is, but I'm guessing that you can be in the game when you're at home with your VR headset. If that's the case, then I think it's super cool. Shadow, I know it would be hard locking down a player team, but would TL consider hosting a tournament featuring an exhibition match with a TL player or team during a time that isn't particularly busy? We are prohibited from doing other exhibition matches and tournaments. I'm sorry, for League of Legends. For other games like Counter-Strike, it's just really hard because our Counter-Strike players are super busy and they have a very rigorous schedule and they're always traveling. So it's very hard to get them to commit to an exhibition match or something that's more community and fun. I would love to do it. Maybe we do it with players that want to opt in. I think it would be really cool to do a Smash event, community, in LA, rent a warehouse, bring in Hungry Box and have our fans come play Smash or Clash or just have a BYOC night, or I think that would be really fun. When can I buy TL branded underwear? That would be pretty cool. The guy that runs our merchandise, Caleb, probably knows if that's ever going to happen, but probably not. But I think it would be cool if we did. how can amateur coaches in League of Legends break into the professional coaching scene? Any advice for amateur coaches trying to break into the scene? Answered this kind of earlier in the AMA's questions, but if you're a coach trying to get in the scene, consume a lot of content, watch that content, learn from it, and be able to display your skill in concise ways and get that message to the teams where you want to apply to be a coach. Make a YouTube video that's private and talk about your experience and show in less than 30 seconds how great you are and how much you know about the game. Show that you've been working on this and not something that you just want to do based on your own self-confidence, but you haven't ever done it before. Find ways to volunteer, offer your services as a coach, find out if you're good at it. Know yourself, know if coaching is your thing. Coaching is a very difficult role. It's in-game strategy, but it's not just that. A lot of coaching is mindset. It's player dynamics. It's getting the most out of players and what they do and how they operate and how they perform. And it's different for every person because mindset's unique. And just, know yourself and put together a good resume video. Question, are you looking for something like an assistant? If so, would you be announcing it and such? Yes, we will be posting a ton of job postings very soon. I'm going to say ton, probably a good amount of job postings. And that will happen, I hope, next week. We've been working on it for a little bit, and we should have it up soon. So stay tuned. We have the job descriptions coming up, and you can apply then. And thank you for being interested in working for us. Elephant on Fire. Oh my God, I just realized Elephant on Fire. Wait, no, isn't that from, what is Elephant on Fire? I was thinking that's from, yes. It took me a second to get that. I was like, wait, I think that's what it is. Okay, that's awesome. Love your name. Have you ever looked towards LMS or import players instead of Korea or EU? Players like Karsa or Maple. We have, especially when Peter used to be on the team. Peter was more familiar with the scene and knew some players, and so we were thinking about it. I think there's a player in Taiwan that is, what's his name? SOFM, I think, a jungler. We absolutely have looked at other players in other regions, and will continue to do so. I think, actually, another good example is Keen. Keen came from Australia, and that's where I picked him up from. So yes, we will always continue to look at other areas. So it's hard to see. A lot of that has to do with the coaches. One of the things is too that we, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, talking too long. Bernard, 2 questions. Would you like for more of the top international teams to fight each other besides MSI Worlds and IEM? 2, where do I get job experience in esports? I work at McDonald's right now. McDonald's is a good job. It's a good place. There's nothing wrong with that. You have a computer, you're in Discord, you have access to, the world is at your disposal, and that just means you're one email away, you're one application away, you're one message away from being in touch with somebody that could impact the rest of your life and your career. So you have to think about the kind of message that you'd be able to craft to have that impact with those people. So, think about what you want to do and where you want to go, and things, and research the internet and find the companies you want to work for, and, put together a really good CV and a cover letter and apply, and network and find other people that work for those companies and talk with them and tell them what you're really interested in and you're passionate about and what you want to work on or what you have worked on. And, you know, don't just want something for the sake of wanting it because you like it. Like, do something about it. Like, do work, produce something, create something, do it because you love it, and then show other people what you've created. And yeah.
All right, we're gonna field one voice question from Sync.
Okay.
Hi, Steve. I've been asking questions all night, as you've probably seen.
Yes, thank you.
I've been a fan since when you were actually on the team, then got moved to Elements, and then Boy and everything else like that.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I know. So it's just, you know, for me, like the whole switch from Curse into Liquid was a very fun thing. But my major question that I wanted to ask is, how do you see, like, where do you see League going with how Riot had made the claims with, you know, versing Reggie, or maybe not Riot per se, but Tryndamere himself, you know, and everything else like that? Like, where do you think it's something that Riot needs to do? Do you think it's something that the teams need to do? But yeah, I'm just trying to get your thoughts on that as an owner of the team.
Yep. So I think that, you know, one of the things from that whole Mark Merrill and Reginald back and forth conversation was that Andy made it clear that the current status of the way that the league rules are and how our participation agreements work with the league isn't optimal for teams and players. And you know, I think there was a few jabs back and forth, and I think it comes from a place where they deeply care about the league that they have both poured an immense amount of resources into. I mean, Reggie has spent so much of his whole career dedicated to this game, and mostly just this game, and has created websites and paid players and created ecosystems and taken risk and purchased houses. And, you know, Mark has created a great game and community and, you know, has done also amazing things. And it's just like there needs to be a version 2 of the way that LCS operates for the health and the benefit of the league. Like, I truly believe that in order for teams to invest the way that they need to into the structure to support the league and put on better events and have better athletes, is to have more permanent positions within the league. That's just the way it is. Like, it's too risky to get involved when you could be relegated, and there needs to be more permanency for teams, and that creates more stability for players. And you should be like, you know, 15, 16 years old and say, you know what, I'm really damn good at video games and I want a career in esports. And I know that if I am really good at the game and I pour my time into it and I get picked up by a team, I could have a whole career and make $500,000 a year and have all these benefits and enjoy the notoriety and stream all this stuff, and that it's going to be there. And so there needs to be a plan that's adjusted based on the success that we've seen. And I think that that's what needs to happen. And I think it will. I think Riot just came out today with a post saying that they were going to provide better, more permanent kind of positions for teams in 2018, which is, I think, a great start, and I think a sign of good things to come. Is there any
lunch, by the way?
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Yeah,
Awesome. There's about 7 minutes left. These will just be the last few questions.
Okay. Okay. Spiral Shark. Is there any relationship between teams and orgs and the shoutcasters, specific venues and leagues, and the shoutcasters that exist? I guess there's absolutely like some connections in terms of players and organizations knowing in particular games. Like, we're in the same industry, we see each other at events and we know each other and all that. But in terms of like from a business standpoint, there's not too much of a relationship, because shoutcasters are being hired by the league operators, and that could be LCS or it could be IEM or Gfinity or Valve events or whatever. So they're the ones that are contractually hiring shoutcasters, not teams per se hiring them, because we don't really need their services because we're not putting on events. The exception to that being that there is a new owner-operated league that has just been announced called the PEA. If you haven't heard of it, you can just Google, PEA team owners. It's basically the top 10 brands. I'm sorry, 8 brands in North America have come together to run leagues. And the reason why we're doing it is so that we can provide the financial benefit of running those leagues to players, so that players aren't just playing for prize money and giving free marketing to the tournaments that they participate in. Because right now, like CSGO players, for example, they'll just participate in an event and they're providing basically free marketing and commitment to play in those events, and they're receiving no financial benefit. And the PEA is a way of saying, hey, teams and players, we can create our own league. And when we do that, we can sell the media rights, we can sell the sponsorships, and we can share in the success of the league together. And that is, it's a very novel and powerful concept that, if it's executed correctly, will really be a game changer for the ecosystem, where developers and existing tournament organizers don't, just kind of take everything and leave nothing for teams and players. Elephant on fire. Do you think YouPorn should have a shot at running a league team despite its riot policy? No, I don't. I think YouPorn is in a category that does not really, it's not appropriate for our audience, just like the other prohibited categories like firearms and drugs and alcohol, and it's just it's not the right thing to advertise and broadcast to all of these millennials. People want to watch porn, they can know to watch porn, they don't need to see it on League of Legends. It's just not appropriate. How do you feel about picking up AZK for match fixing for the Overwatch team? We were nervous about it, I'll be very honest with you, but we had full commitment that he was apologetic and self-aware of the things that he had done, and he was committed to changing, and also committed to publicly saying all of these things to his entire fan base. So I think with all of that, it made us much more comfortable to work with a player that would change. And I'm very much of the belief that people do change, especially young adults who make mistakes. So, he has. Last question of the AMA, how strong is C9 going into World opinion? I think C9 is doing really well. I think I think Impact is kind of playing out of his mind, and they will perform well. I think Sneaky is also playing great. Medios is playing great. They're gelling. Smoothie's awesome. So yeah, I think they'll do good, but I just don't think, in the top 3. So I think that concludes 2 hours of AMA. I did my best to answer everything as honest and direct as possible, as always. I really appreciate each and every one of you spending some time with me tonight. Some of you 2 hours. So really appreciate that. And of course, thank you for being a TL fan and following us and engaging with our content and following with our teams and players. Victor and I are so committed to creating an amazing brand and doing things for the community. And we have some really special things that are planned for next year, and can't wait to share that stuff with you guys. So
awesome. That concludes our AMA.
All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, Steve.
All right. Bye-bye.